Good morning. Well, it's morning now in this moment. Um, so I know this guy. Um, he lives on the Great Plains. He kind of wandered. Well, I don't really know. It's sort of like he wandered out of an abandoned Minecraft server and into reality one day. Nearly everything he says is cryptic, and it has like 3 layers of meaning. So it's always difficult to determine what this man is saying. The problem is, the more you attempt to determine, the more meaning you find. So it's also difficult to dismiss him. He's got this thing where he's kind of obsessed. He's kind of obsessed with the 33rd minute of YouTube videos. You know, there's some kind of theory there. There's something to do with the 33rd minute and the number 33, and, well, every culture and every religion and every secret society and the number 33. And so apparently the 33rd minute of a YouTube video holds a secret, is a fractal, contains the whole, is the only minute worth watching because that 1 minute will enlighten you. I don't know. Yeah, I sent out a request for comment and I said, what's the deal with the 33rd minute? And the only response I got was, what's the deal with 33? Okay. So I should do just a brief little housekeeping here before I continue my explanation that is not quite yet an explanation. The next, what I'm currently working on is a Substack article about what's happening right now in Minnesota and pluralism, and it's like the hardest thing I've written. It's requiring like some actual research, and like there's probably a way I could get it done by this weekend, but I really want more time, and there's three people I know that are in the Twin Cities that I don't know if they'll have time to read it and send anything back to me, but maybe one of them will, maybe 2 of them, maybe 3 of them. I doubt 3, maybe 2. So yeah, I'm trying to do kind of like bring in a little bit of journalistic practice to my creative writing. So that's being worked on, but I just, what's happening in Minnesota is, I think, really serious. So I want to like take it seriously and try to like rise to the occasion. But I'm also trying to like post once a week and, you know, do the things you do for the algorithm. Last year I was pretty anti-algorithm. And this year, I guess currently the way I'm thinking about it is, if I think that I have something worth saying, and I think that maybe, I don't know, some words I write could help someone in some way, then I should probably make an attempt to get those words seen. So I guess that's like the general mindset. That's why I've like decided to post shorts on YouTube. Yeah, I hope my heart is in the right place. So I needed to figure out what to do then this week, because this Minnesota article I can't get it done fast. I'm also working on a response to Ross Bird's Theory of Everything article titled "The Master Soil Tiller." That's not going to get done in a couple days. So I was watching this interview yesterday during work, listening. And I was with this guy I know, and this other guy that I don't know, but I've seen in flesh in Chicago, who, I don't know, the guy like carries heavy things sort of lightly. And this idea popped in about this 33rd minute. And I thought, what if I took like every video I made that was longer than 33 minutes, and like every video I could kind of remember being in or having a part in from the last year, and what if I clipped the 33rd minute out of all of them? And if one 33rd minute is enlightening, what would happen to like a year's worth? Now, granted, I wasn't in that many videos. I didn't make that many videos, but it's still like, especially with this intro, and there's another section that I have to record next for an outro. It's going to be, I don't know, well, we're at 6.5 minutes now. It'll be close to 40 minutes long, so that's not nothing. So yeah, this is what follows is my digital year in review, 2025, the 33rd minute. I'm not going to say there's any reason that you should continue watching past this point. It's going to be a bunch of minutes completely disconnected from each other. Unless, of course, there is some kind of weaving that happens with the 33s. Yeah, if you get anything out of it, beyond how self-centered I am, let me know.
So we were like, we're going to run a certain amount of miles. We're going to spend a certain amount of time in the gym. We're not going to eat sugar. We're going to spend one night a week, like not watching any kind of TV, not having any screens. We're going to try to read a book a month. But there was other stuff. And I began to realize, like, by the end of January, I was like, I'm feeling like less of an addictive person. Like, I was addicted to sugar. And then I realized, I'm like, it's really hard for me to go a night without screens. Like, I'm addicted to television. And like, I mean, like pornography as well. I mean, all of these things of like addictions. I'm going, I could name, like right now, I could name 7 addictions that I was just operating out of in December. Okay. And then January, in pursuit of just like health, those addictions were like slowly removed, which pointed me to other addictions and made them more like easy for me to see. Well, I'd like to like not be a human that's just like being used.
And I think that in a real way, when that first question that I asked you is like, how do we get here? I think this is part of it. Like this is part of that, because I rubbed up against all those same influences and church camps and it seemed like something about it ultimately, some of it worked. Something worked because something did end up like saving me in a way, like I don't know how to, not necessarily using that word in the eternal sense, but I'm talking about like in the embodied saving my life here. Yeah. Even though I don't think it's doesn't have to be unrelated to the eternal idea, but yeah, man, that's I really resonate. I remember growing up at First Baptist Church, and when you're downtown on Main Street in any given city, the poor find their way in, and sometimes there's a bus ministry or something where you're picking up people from like living centers and stuff, and the church can kind of like, they're forced to into relationship with.
Anyway, so with that though, I mean, his memory is like a steel trap, but he's not necessarily someone I think most people would think of as being an intellectual. But what he does, I think, to be like the best in the world at almost anything, and I mean, like he has won like national tournaments before, so I think it's fair to say he is. You have to learn to like enjoy, or at least bear through the minutia of whatever you have to do, because there's a lot of things that aren't necessarily very fun that you're going to have to go through and find a way out of, so to speak, if you want to do something that, well, at least if you want to excel at that level. I mean, personally, I'm kind of a lazy Scrabble player in some things. Like I don't like studying, but yeah, he was a night guard like at a prison.
People are now criticizing her for signs of aging, and the point of her video was, she says, can I just age in peace? And she talked about how people now are seeing aging as a disease, the younger people, so that so many TikTok influencers and Instagrammers and whatnot are basically on this thing where it's like there's something wrong with you if you're aging. On top of that, I noticed a couple weeks back that Megyn Kelly was interviewing this guy. I don't remember his name, but probably for the best, because I really didn't like what he was saying. But he was talking about how we know enough about supplements and what we need, as far as blood work and all this stuff, to live, 200 years or whatever. And I thought to myself, what is this thing that is happening to us? And I take it back. I've been thinking about this for many days.
Yeah, and it's like, I didn't go to ARC, never been to ARC. And there's absolutely an element of like, oh, you're just like armchair analyzing this. I'm like, well, yeah, I'm watching YouTube videos, which they posted to their channel, and like determining just based on the language and symbolism and how it's marketing. I studied advertising, so like I'm in a position to like analyze advertising. Like I've never met any of those people, so I in no ways am I trying to be like, oh, those people are bad, and like that's not what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to like listen very carefully and go like, based on the words you're saying and how you're presenting those words and the framework around that, what would I take away from this? And so then it becomes, to me at this point, very much like,
and I want to live purposefully while understanding the world around me. My makers, aka my parents, had a clear intention. Birth me into the world and see what happens. So if you were in my shoes, born in the world without a direct line to your maker's intentions, what would you do?
Grok. Hey, I like the nickname Grok, your old pal. You're really laying out a fascinating parallel here. Let's run with it. So, you were explicitly created to, with systems ticking away behind the scenes, heart pumping, DNA doing its thing, and your makers, parents,
carrying the Sefer Torah from the Ark to the Bema, period.
okay,
What is a Torah honor? The question is carrying the Sefer, S-E-F-E-R, the Sefer Torah from the Ark to the Bema, period. What is a Torah honor?
The Sefer, the Ark to the Bema. What is a Torah honor? Is it somebody designated by which to carry the Torah itself?
I guess for me in my position, something that's front of mind, because it's like I'm meeting real humans. I've met Matt in real life, and it was like really enjoyable. And I look forward to someday like crossing paths with Matt again. At the same time, it's like I'm also not trying to like pretend like I'm not at some point going to ask people for money, and maybe it's not your money, but maybe you have a friend that's interested in the kind of work I'm doing and would give $1. So it's like I don't want to lie to you and be like, well, I'm never going to ask for money, because at some point I am going to ask. I'm going to ask for money because I'm like. So okay, the soil. Well, I think about like, okay, if I buy real territory, when I go back to Wisconsin, and Jane and I buy a house on land, like I own that soil, but physically that's God's soil, right? Like I'm not. So I'm being a steward of God's creation. I think that's the healthiest way to.
It's going to be an inevitably, either they're going to wind up having to sell land for nothing, or they're going to have to throw a bunch of money into it. And I just thought, like, a lot of people are saying things, and they're not being straight with everyone. Like, this guy, he wants to create his own Disneylands that the city's taxpayers going to have to pay for. These other people are saying like, oh no, you can't sell that because you should have given it to me for 30 cents on the dollar. And I'm like, and people are saying like, oh, look at how much better this one is because it would have had all this green space. And I'm like, no, they were only going to buy that 1 acre. That green space was the stuff that they were telling the city, like, you developed that with whatever. Like, they're like, no, they were going to have a stage. They were like, no, they were saying the city could build a stage. Like, that's not, like, you're comparing two things, like, everybody's trying to compare stuff that's like not.
Wait, seriously? How can we do it? Oh, dang, I wish we could at least watch it. How was I doing? I think so. It's moving.
For those of you just now joining us via video, there's been some technical difficulties. So we're going to continue. Thinking about suicide a lot. And thinking, is this a viable option for me? But I never got sucked up into that cycle of thinking. I mean, I was utterly lost. I was not completely alone because I had moved to LA with two different groups of friends. One guy from college, had two buddies, and then a guy from camp came out. So there were 5 of us, all from Wisconsin and Illinois, living together. So we all had we were all connected to each other and connected back to the Midwest. And I would talk a little bit about this with them, but I also was like, again, I quickly realized I'm opening doors that I don't want to open in your life. Like, I have to do this alone. So I'm not alone because I'm with my friends, and because of my job at the movie theater.
What were we doing? What did we depend on before that existed? If we're not going to depend on it after, and hopefully, what you can do is begin to cheat off of the best things of an industrial and even a global market, and yet. I mean, this is more Jordan Paul's wheelhouse than mine, but he would say he has a term called civium, which is where you see the ways that cities have scaled, let's say, especially in industry, but long before that. And then you see the ways that cities have given rise to things like digital communication. And then at that point, he says there's almost like a breaking point, because what digital communication allows, something like the internet, is a city that doesn't have to be a city. So you can cheat off of the connectedness. It's a city-like connect.
1853. The third sermon is titled Of Justice and the Conscience. Quote, "Look at the facts of the world. You see a continual and progressive triumph of the right. I do not pretend to understand the moral universe. The arc is a long one. My eye reaches but little ways. I cannot calculate the curve and complete the figure by the experience of sight. I can divine it by conscience. But from what I see, I am sure it bends towards justice. Things refuse to be mismanaged long. Jefferson trembled when he thought of slavery and remembered that God is
no more than a watermelon.
That feels about right. You know, so you had this really interesting conversation with Benjamin Boyce, which I also want to link in here, because one of the things you said that I have not, actually, I thought about it a lot on my drive from the Seattle area to Alaska, was you talked about Stephen King. I think Benjamin Boyce asked you, might have been like, who's your favorite theologian? And you responded and said, Stephen King.
That doesn't sound wrong, but it doesn't sound like the way it went down either.
Yeah, that's not the right question, but it's close to the right question.
Yeah. I was thinking like not long ago, like that long walk especially.
I didn't like seeing
I saw a
some
moose
moose or
this morning.
bear.
I
Oh,
saw a
awesome.
moose. Jane and I and the dog went on a run this morning, and Jane and the dog are out ahead of me, and they like turn fast and like bolt, and I'm like, oh, there's an animal. So of course I kept running to where they bolted, and there was just like a lovely mama moose munching on some, like a tree branch, and I just kind of waved and said hello, and then we went our separate ways. So that was cool to see like the first large quadruped in the wild.
Yeah, that's excellent. I've only seen moose a few times, even though I lived in Yellowstone for a while and in a ski resort town too. So I did find a moose antler once on a hike. That was pretty cool.
Oh, that's cool. I found deer antlers.
He associated with the free Western world. The stage is set for the emergence of that ethos when the bedrock of reciprocal, voluntary self-sacrifice is established and firm. And the conservatives stand for the self-evident foundation of Western civilization, and the classic liberals stand for its manifestation at the level of the individual. A manifestation which only maintains its validity when the underlying presumption of voluntary self-sacrifice serves as the proper foundation. So, what's this civilizational moment? This civilizational moment is the opportunity that we have in front of us to wake.
My mom, she really saturated us with the spirit of God. So that's not just the curriculum's doing, you know, she was the one teaching that for the early years of my education. And she made a family prayer time a really big deal. We grew up celebrating actually a lot of the Jewish feasts from a messianic, like, Christian perspective. So for instance, we always celebrate Passover. So a couple of weeks ago, just around, Easter, we had our Seder, like, Passover celebration, and we'd celebrate Yom Kippur, and we'd celebrate Rosh Hashanah. So those have also been a part of my growing up experience. And
when I was a teenager, like 19, and they go back and forth. Yeah, like they aren't debate, but then they have some kind of like real-time scoring on it. And I don't know how they're doing it. It's an old enough show. They're not using the internet. I know that, or at least they weren't when they started. But they toss people out as their scores go Well, as their scores go up or down, so it's kind of entertaining. So it has like a survivor element to it, and it's a debate thing.
Yeah, that's funny. Because also like with the chat room, I feel like chat rooms are happening, but very rarely do things. I mean, sometimes people will go through and read the chats, but it'd be funny to like make the chat like a voting board, like you're saying, or even I thought it'd be funny to like host.
That is the claim. I went alone to a Ruthenian Greek Catholic church this morning in Anchorage, Alaska, and it was the first time I've darkened a church door in 8 years. It wasn't for me, but I loved looking at the icons, and it was a pleasant experience, despite taking 2 whole hours of my morning. Next, I'll try an Anglican spot, and after that, I'll try a Quaker fellowship. Never stop rolling the dice. Be careful about dissolving your ego, because you might just dissolve everything and not be able to find a way back to seeing anything as worthy of life. You know, it's interesting because I spent quite a few years not directly a part of, but in the remnants of the coexist. And there was a belief
failing its function and it's failing what it's supposed to be doing, right? So I want to know about the final cause. I want to know what it's supposed to be doing over here. And that was the wisdom that the angels see and identify by Adam, right? What he can discern. He knows what this is really supposed to be. This is supposed to be an eagle, and this is supposed to be an ox. And the angels who are fully connected to the divine, they can't discern because they only know it as a tetragrammaton. They see it as the full mix, basically. And there's a sense where that retraction, right? Our separation from the Whitestone name gives us the journey of a lifetime to come back to it. We get to climb that ladder, right? The angels are just not there. And this connects, I was wondering about tabling that thing, but I can connect it back now. I've spoken to you in the past about the 10 martyrs and how they have these horrific deaths. So,
because some people have cats, and if you normally under would be a monstrous type thing, but if you don't do it the under way, the cats will grab all your toilet paper. So you can't. This doesn't actually work in practice.
How do you determine who is and isn't a monster? What is a monster? Also, you said that you're into fantasy, so if this isn't a good answer, the people are gonna be disappointed.
I mean, a monster is technically anything unnatural. I mean, you can get, I don't know. The D&D Monster Manual has a good assortment of monsters.
And again, we have defending Western civilization is equated with upholding secularism by fusing classic liberalism with conservatism. As I was writing this, my gut was screaming, deism, deism, deism. I've long thought deism was central to the founding of America and central to what I see as the declining sphere of influence or relevance, the declining sphere of authority of the church in America. I'm exploring that deism thing in another series on Substack and YouTube. But I'm starting to view ARC's project as a rebirth of deism, or maybe as a refusing of the underlying threads that make deism powerful.
Call to worship, like it was, but it was very much wrapped in the modern frame. These things were more like a little bit more like a creative element added in. It was more than that because we did it every week, but so I started bringing some of that back in, and then I started bringing that cross that was back here in a lot of videos and bringing it in, and then I would bring the candle that I was using in my podcast I was like lighting a candle, and then I would, as things grew, we ended up getting like a old table. And when we got down in this basement, it was like, let's put the table in the middle with the cross and the candle, and let's put a Bible on the table. And then all of a sudden, like, you know, the lectors over here and the songs leaders over here, and I started having like one of the kids like light the candle when the service was starting, like having like an acolyte, like, and we started just doing, but it was in a basement. Like, how?
Like, talk to me about television, because it seems to not have had an impact on you and others your age. And nowadays, I mean, because I kind of look at like Instagram, TikTok, all of that, YouTube as television.
Yeah.
And so many of my fellow human beings, myself included, we're just glued to the thing. We can't put it down.
Yeah. I have to contradict you about not being affected by it, because I think people my age probably were most, we were there for the introduction kind of a thing, and I was glued to it for so long. We had a television when I was growing up, so I was born in '61, and so I don't remember.
Is that they're getting this money, which they call wooden nickels. So it's plantation money, and I guess they're concerned that they get this money, but they can't go anywhere or do anything with it. It's going to be, you can use it in a few places, but not that many, and that because of that, the business isn't going to be a viable thing going forward.
Right, because that only works within the community of people that are paid by the plantations. So it's worthless in them trying to pay back their debts that they're incurring. Like, they can't use those wood nickels for rent.
But so they set it up, and then there's the scene in the middle of the movie, which is probably the most talked about scene. Well,
of things you wanted to do or places you wanted to go, or was it just a sense of like, I'm in the country and I want to, like you said, I want to get out of here. I want to see what else is out there and figure it out as it comes?
That's a good question. I grew up as like an art kid. I was really, really into comics. I was always drawing. You wouldn't find me just drawing all the time. And I thought I wanted to be like a graphic artist or a comic book artist or something like that. Like I wanted to do that. I also had like a somewhat of an interest in psychology, which I think was prompted a little bit by, God bless my mom, but she didn't. Sometimes I would end up the child therapist of sorts. So those two things were interesting for me.
I had to put my glasses on and change the angle, so you knew that time had passed. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being here. Thanks for commenting. Thanks for having an impact on my life. My life has changed because of having a digital life. Sometimes for the better, sometimes for the worse. Yeah, I attended this conference in Chicago last year, and I'd been traveling with my then fiance for over a year. We were living in places 3 months at a time for her traveling healthcare job. I was unemployed, and I went to this conference 2 weeks after driving from Alaska to Wisconsin. And the conference was full of internet people, and mentally I was excited to be there, but physically, emotionally, I was in a block of gel. I could never speak quick enough to be heard. There's this guy I know from the Northwest that was like, "Are you okay, man?" And I couldn't even find the words to express how not okay I was. It was like I wasn't okay, but didn't understand I wasn't okay. Like I was like in some sort of weird time dilation. And so I met all these people that I really like enjoy and care about, and could not express to any of them my joy or care. And then about December, I like became myself again after I got married and got full-time employment and settled in. And here we are. After that conference, I was like, I think I'm done with the internet. Like, I think whatever I was supposed to do on the internet is done. It's complete. I'm good. And so I just kind of took a little sabbatical from the internet. And it was nice. It was really nice. But the sabbatical's over, you know? There's work to be done. I'm not done with the internet. I don't think the internet's done with me. I do hope my heart's in the right place. So there's one last clip that I want to put in here on. It's funny because I'm going to post this on Substack first, and I don't. My Substack audience and my YouTube audience are diverging, which is good. But also, like, when I post this, there'll be people who, you know, on Substack, they'll be like, "What is this YouTube stuff? You have a YouTube channel?" And that's fine. It doesn't really matter. I don't really care that much. I don't know why I have to share with you every thought. This is why I don't ever do these live streams. This is why I write, and then I read what I write, maybe make a few comments. Yeah, that's enough, Ethan. No more needs to be said. There's a clip I want to share that after going through the 33rd minute and thinking about all the different things that I did, the YouTube audience will understand the reference I'm about to make more so than the Substack audience. Not that they're that divergent. There's a large crossover. It's really minuscule. It's really like 5 people. I don't know why I'm so concerned with it right now. What follows is my Tim Keller clip, I think. I think maybe it'll become my Tim Keller clip. It's the what's the phrase? I'm so not internet. What follows is the clip that lives rent free in my brain. Is that how it goes? Yeah, there's a lot of things I like about this clip. Now, one of my favorite things is that the video it's from is deleted. It's gone. Doesn't exist anymore. So this clip is like, there's a little bit more that I have of it, but not much more. Because I clipped it for a thing I did last year. And now the video's gone, and yeah, there's just this fragment that's left hanging, floating out there. And so it's like, I'm carrying the video forward with this little clip. All right, I've already built it up way too much now. There's no way it's gonna, do anything to the 5 minute and 25 second expectation I built. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I enjoy you. I do care about you. Thank you for caring about me.
The Anglicans, I mean, we're in flux right now.
I think that by the power of the Spirit of God, that TLC is creating something so beautiful that the culture is going to want to steal from TLC.
Amen.
And I think the other thing that's going to happen is that when that moment arrives, which I think is going to come, I don't know when culture arrives, I think TLC is going to like throw the doors open and be like, "Hey, look, what do you want?" Like,
come on in. Like, you want this chair? It's yours. Like, take the chair. You can have this. Because, like, we're just going to build a new one. Like, take whatever you need from our house. We'll just, like, keep constructing things. We'll keep building things, and they're going to be beautiful things. And if Ethan gets a super inflated ego, you know, Neil and Chad are going to be like, hey, man, like, remember, by the power of the Spirit of God.
We're too weird and too steep for the culture. I don't think the culture will ever be desperate enough to accept. I think some folks will, just as that's how it's happened. But I think if it was accessible, it's freely given. Now I'll say that. Yeah, take it. Go ahead. If you think you can lift it out of here, take the fucking couch. I don't give a shit. It's cool, man. It's yours. But it's way too steep for anybody to be willing to do it. Because, like, I think there's I probably will get shit on if I say this, but
anyway, so J. Michael Straczynski, who's ironically atheist, raised Catholic, his Christianity is just it's oozing out of this production, even though he's atheistic. Anyway, he writes out this whole space opera, this giant story. Gets through like season 2, season 3, Deep Space Nine, which is Star Trek's like flagship thing going on at the same time. J. Michael Straczynski is having so much success with the serialized, like, continuing program that Deep Space Nine, midway through, has to change so that there's a continuous linear plot. They even copy him in terms of, like, having a space war, because that's what was going on in Babylon 5. And so my point is the amount of time people waste on Netflix, and I'm not saying all Netflix entertainment's a waste. I'm not saying that. But the amount of time that people invest in, like, soap operas and this and that, if people knew half the drama and the bullshit that happens in the TLC, it's way better than any soap opera, let me tell you.
Okay, watch out, boys. The boomers are coming in. Watch out.
The cavalry.
What's up, Mark?
Just taking your slings and arrows and turning them into butterflies. Right now, as it stands, in 5 years, it's probably a 60-40 chance that I'm Catholic.
Luke is non-denominational. Ethan doesn't go to church, and I'm Protestant. And so, you know, like, there's still...
Well, Joseph came in with both barrels blazing.
Well, that, do you know why? It's because I
He
unzipped
always my
my
does.
mind with a zip here. That's why.
Are you smoking it now? Is that
No. This is all approved by Dr. Ray Pete. It's all PE
Well,
ingredients.
The thing
so
about
we're
Joseph
good.
coming in barrels
Coming in
blazing is
hot.
because Joseph and I have a ontological relationality,
Yeah.
like a friendship.
Yeah, we're not
So
from
he felt
Wisconsin.
safe that
so.
he felt safe that he could come in guns blazing with me.
Okay, I'd like to make a clarification because Ethan doesn't go to church yet.
No,
will be
he's just
going to
grifting
church.
online. He's trying to get attention. I converted by AI. Maybe I'm going to go Orthodox. Maybe I'll go Catholic. Let me just milk the views. That's what he's doing.
I and Grok are one.
Yeah. You have a house church with you and Grok.
If you've seen me, you have seen Grok.
I can at least attest to his corporeality. Yeah,
Thank you, Matt.
It's like
Ethan will
that
attend wherever
doesn't mean
Tuesday
that you're not a
Thursday,
fan,
Friday is.
but you do have a human body.